David Boren, former Oklahoma governor, U.S. Senator and OU President, dies at 83. David Boren, former Oklahoma governor, U.S. Senator and University of Oklahoma President, died on Thursday at his home in Norman, a source close to the family told KOCO 5's Abigail Ogle. He was 83. My father loved the people of Oklahoma. He saw public service as a noble calling and dedicated his life to it, Dan Boren said in a statement. He was driven by a deep desire to improve the lives of others and build a better future for our state, nation, and university. The countless heartwarming stories I hear almost daily from people across this state who he helped are reminders of his remarkable life. We shall cherish the memory of his service and remarkable life. Boren was born in Washington, D.C., on April 21, 1941, to former U.S. Rep. Lyle H. Boren, a Democrat from Oklahoma, and Christine McKown Boren. He attended grade school in Seminole, Oklahoma, and Bethesda, Maryland, before earning a bachelor's degree from Yale University in 1963. He majored in American history. Boren received his master's degree in philosophy, politics, and economics in 1965 at Oxford University in England, where he was a Rhodes Scholar. In 1968, Boren graduated from the University of Oklahoma College of Law. He was named Outstanding Graduate in his class by the law school faculty. He began his decades-long political career in the Oklahoma House of Representatives, where he served from 1966 to 1974. During his time in the state legislature, Boren was a professor at Oklahoma Baptist University. He was also a captain in the Oklahoma National Guard. At 33, Boren became the youngest Oklahoma governor to take office. He was sworn into the role in 1975 and served as the state's leader for 4 years. Known for the Boren Broom Brigade, he vowed to bring reform to Oklahoma politics and sweep out the old guard. His campaign came at a time when incumbent Gov. David Hall was accused of racketeering and extortion. Boren and U.S. Rep. Clem McSpadden defeated Hall in the Democratic primary election. Boren then beat McSpadden in the Democratic primary runoff before winning the general election over Republican Jim Inhofe, who went on to become a U.S. Senator decades later. Choosing not to seek another term, he took Boren's Broom Brigade to the U.S. Capitol after winning a seat in the Senate in 1978. He was elected to fill the seat left vacant by former Sen. Dewey Bartlett, who retired from the position. Boren served 3 terms in the Senate, where he held the position of chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee. By organizing the Oklahoma Foundation for Excellence while in the Senate, he brought business and community leaders together to invest in a nonprofit to benefit Oklahoma's public schools. The program, which provides resources, opportunities, and funding for teachers and students in the state, began in 1985 and continues to this day. Boren resigned from the Senate in 1994, when he became president of the University of Oklahoma. He served as president of the university for nearly 24 years, retiring in 2018. During his tenure at OU, he increased the school's donor base substantially. The university invested more than $2 billion into construction projects and started 31 new programs under his leadership. Boren also hired new athletic director Joe Castiglione, who is still with the university, and former football coach Bob Stoops, who led the Sooners to a national championship in 2000. Keeping with his love of teaching, Boren taught a freshman-level political science class each semester during his tenure. He was the second longest-serving president in the university's history. David Boren was one of Oklahoma's most important citizens for the greater part of his life. He led in so many positive, effective, and bipartisan ways. He made a difference, Burns Hargis, the former president of Oklahoma State University, said in the news release. For me personally, he was a friend, a colleague, and a mentor. We worked closely together to make higher education a great experience for students. And I send our deepest condolences to the Boren family. But less than a year after retiring, he faced allegations that he sexually harassed male subordinates. Boren cut all ties with the university in 2019 following the claims. The allegations never led to criminal charges. An investigation was launched by the university, but those records have not been made publicly available. Boren denied all wrongdoing throughout the investigation, but the allegations were reminiscent of a strange exchange during Boren's campaign for U.S. Senate, during which he held a news conference and swore on a Bible that he was not gay or bisexual after his sexuality was questioned by an opposing candidate. Boren was the first person in Oklahoma to serve as governor, U.S. Senator and president of the University of Oklahoma. Boren is survived by his wife of 47 years, Molly Boren, a former Pontotoc County Special District Judge, and his two children, Van Boren and Carrie Headington. He shared his two children with Jana Lou Little, whom he married in 1968 before divorcing in 1976. In March 2015, a recording was made public of members of the University of Oklahoma's Sigma Alpha Epsilon fraternity singing a racially derogatory song which used the racial slur nigger and included reference to lynching and racial segregation. As university president, Boren appeared widely in U.S. media and condemned the behavior, expelled two student members of the fraternity, and with the fraternity's national headquarters' help, ordered the chapter's closure. He also created a mandatory diversity training for the whole campus. Some legal scholars have argued that these expulsions were improper, as speech, even if offensive, is protected by the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Other scholars have argued that the expulsion was based on the Student Code of Conduct and was not protected. On February 13, 2019, while on sabbatical from health issues, following his 2018 retirement, it was reported that the University of Oklahoma had hired the Jones Day law firm to investigate Boren after allegations of his serious misconduct arose at the university. The university and specifically the OU Board of Regents declined to specify whether the investigation was actually of Boren or to specify its start or projected end date, instead referring to it generally as an ongoing personnel investigation. Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation conducted a criminal investigation which lasted a year ending with no charges. During the year-long investigation which ended with no charges, 6 witnesses described interactions with Boren shortly after the end of his 24-year tenure as the institution's president. University of Oklahoma Regents received the findings of that Title X investigation in April 2019, conducted by the law firm Jones Day, and turned it over to the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation for the agency's criminal investigation which lasted a year ending with no charges. Only a portion of the Title IX report has been released publicly to accuser and former OU student Jess Eddy, whose allegations were deemed generally credible by the law firm, though Eddy admitted to calling Boren personally and asking for financial compensation after the Oklahoman first reported Boren was being investigated. The 4-page section released by OU referenced 6 witnesses who discussed interactions with Boren. Boren's successor, James L. Ogle, who ordered investigations of Boren, resigned May 12, 2019 after 9 months and 2 weeks in office. The investigation purportedly sought to determine whether Boren sexually harassed staff or students during his tenure as president. The allegations arose from a fall 2010 Boren fundraising trip to Houston in a private jet and hotel events afterward. During the investigation, OU graduate and former Boren classroom Jess Eddy made his allegation of Boren's sexual misconduct public through media interviews. Boren has issued a blanket denial of any misconduct or illegal activity through his attorney. Boren's attorney has stated that the investigation is not an objective search for truth and an attempted character assassination on Boren without basis in fact, adding that Boren was unaware of any allegations until he heard about it in the press. Boren's attorney also stated that President James L. Ogle told the vice president of the University of Oklahoma to deliver the message to Boren that I am the meanest son of a bitch he has ever seen, and if he ever crosses me again, I will destroy him. After Boren wrote an op-ed defending the state of OU's finances in response to Ogle's assertion that they were in disorder following Boren's tenure as president. The University of Oklahoma Regents received the results of the investigation in April 2019, and although they did not release any of the findings, the chairwoman described the probe as fair, non-biased, thorough and objective. Eddy responded to the non-disclosure of the findings by calling for the report by Jones Day to be released. In October 2020, Acting Attorney General Patrick Henry announced that his office would not seek a grand jury criminal indictment against Boren or other parties involved. In 1996, Reform Party presidential candidate Ross Perot unsuccessfully sought Boren to be his vice presidential running mate. In 2001, Boren, along with fellow Democrat former Governor George Nye, was listed as being in support of the right-to-work law in Oklahoma. The measure, proposed and sponsored by then-Gov. Frank Keating, was passed by the voters. Boren is regarded as a mentor to former Director of Central Intelligence George Tenet from his days as chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee. On the morning of September 11, 2001, Boren and Tenet were having breakfast together when Tenet was called away to respond to the terror attacks. In June 2007, conservative political columnist Robert Novak claimed that Boren had met with New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg to discuss a possible third-party presidential campaign. Bloomberg had recently left the Republican Party, and speculation arose that he discussed the possibility of Boren joining him as a running mate. 64 However, on April 18, 2008, Boren endorsed the leading Democratic candidate, Sen. Barack Obama of Illinois. In 2008, he released a book titled A Letter to America. Boren and former U.S. Senator Chuck Hagel served as co-chairman of the nonpartisan U.S. President's Intelligence Advisory Board under Barack Obama. He sits on the honorary board of the National Association for Urban Debate Leagues. He was inducted into the Oklahoma Hall of Fame in 1988. In 1996, Boren received the Foreign Language Advocacy Award from the Northeast Conference on the Teaching of Foreign Languages in recognition of his support for education and his authorship of the National Security Education Act of 1992. Boren was married twice. His first marriage to Jana Little, daughter of Ruel Little, occurred shortly after his graduation in 1968. They had 2 children, and divorced in 1976. He married Pontota County Special District Judge Molly Shee on November 27, 1977. It was the first time an Oklahoma governor had married while in office. She was a native of Ada, Oklahoma and alumna of East Central University and the University of Oklahoma, where she earned her degree in law. She was a lawyer in private practice for 2 years before being appointed as a judge. The Boren family has a strong interest in public policy and 3 generations of public service. His father, Lyle Boren, served in the U.S. House of Representatives from 2005 to 2013. Boren was the first cousin of singer, songwriter, and actor Hoyt Axton, best known for writing the song Joy to the World. David Boren died at his home in Norman, Oklahoma, on February 20, 2025, at the age of 83.